This is a little lunchtime vinyasa class. We're going to start seated. There might be some interference from my furry coworkers. They are mutinying and have decided they will not get with the program. They have their own agenda today. So we'll see how this all goes. So just for you, like whatever's happening at your house, whether there's coworkers or not, find yourself in a comfortable seated position. So you can sit cross-legged like this. You could kneel between your heels if you would rather sit that way. Or if you want to put one leg up in half lotus or do a full lotus, you could do that too. I'm not going to stop you. You're at your house. Just something that allows you to get your spine relatively neutral. And we're going to let the shoulders relax, so you can rest the palms down or the palms up, or you can rest one palm inside the other if that's kind of nice today. So you can rest one palm inside the other if that's more comfortable. And then just let yourself take a few moments. We're going to breathe and notice the pathway of the breath, how it comes in, kind of fills us up, and then lightly leaves us behind as we exhale. Just let the breath be a little deeper, a little more smooth, more rhythmic than you might normally breathe. There's a little bit of a technique to it, but not too crazy. Take 2 more breaths, just letting everything else that's going on in your life drop away for now. And we're going to start to kind of shift the rib cage. So we're going to bring the rib cage forward. Now you can fold from your hips as well, but you could actually just bring the rib cage forward. The circle will be a lot smaller. But that is a possibility, especially if there's not a lot of mobility in your hips. If you've got a little extra mobility, come forward all the way, rib cage and hips. It almost feels like a little cobra. Then we're gonna shift over to the side, kind of get a little more of a side bend as we peel around the back. A little rounder in the back. You can even lean back a bit through the pelvis. Coming over to the opposite side, and then it's gonna kind of transform into the shape in the front. So we're just gonna make circles like that. Whatever direction you're going in is fine. Circle in about 4 times in that direction. To the degree possible, I'm trying to get both my ribs and my hips to do a little bit of the movement here. So 1 more circle for me. And then when I get back to the front, where everything is kind of in that little cobra shape, I'm going to pause. And then go the opposite direction. Again, about 4 circles going this way. There's gonna be shenanigans, y'all. Ignore any crashing sounds you hear in the background. I forgot to count, but I'm gonna do 1 more. So then once again, once you get all the way around to the front, we're going to pause there. Now once you've gotten yourself sitting back upright, you can switch which leg is in front if you like, so there's a little more evenness If sitting one way doesn't work, don't worry about that. And then drop the chin and we'll roll the head up to the shoulder. Now you can go around the back a little bit. I don't like to go all the way to here, all the way to the very, very back. It makes my discs feel a little uncomfortable. So I just do kind of around the side, because really the muscles I'm after are on the side of the neck, a little bit around the back, but not all the way to the very center. So going about 2/3 of the way or 3/4 of the way is enough. Okay, so once I'm even on both sides, so we can come back to the center, let my head come up, and then just make some circles with the shoulders. Go in the other direction with those circles. So we're going to hunch the shoulders up as close as you can to your ears and then let them fall. And hunch them up nice and close. Let them fall. 2 more like that. Hunch them up. All right. So we're going to come up to all fours. So we're going to take the right leg back behind us and then take the right arm out, or sorry, left arm out in front. So you've got right leg, left arm. Give it a good stretch and then squeeze in through the sides of your waist. Last breath here. And then exhale, we're going to bring those 2 down, take the other 2 up. So left leg, right arm, stretch in between those 2 points. Draw in a little bit through the sides of the waist. One more breath. Bring those 2 down. Take the right leg, left arm up, and then curl in and stretch out, and curl in, stretch out, curl in. One more time. Now stretch out, lower your right arm, bring your left arm, bring your right leg forward, or whichever leg you've got forward. So now we're in a lunge. So if your hands will touch the floor, you can simply just touch the ground. Otherwise, you can use blocks. And then I'm just sending my hip forward and backing off a little bit till I find the right spot. And then I'm going to pause there and add a little bit of a back bend to this. You can put your arms overhead if you like. And 2 more breaths. We're going to take the hips back until the right leg is all the way straight and fold over top of the center of it. And I feel this in my hamstrings, so you might as well. You can bend your knee a little bit if it's too much, or back off some. Go up a little higher. And then I'm going to take both my hands over here to the diagonal, which brings the stretch around to my inner hamstring. So I'm going to take that one for a couple breaths. Now leaving my hands on this side, and without kicking my furniture, I'm going to take my right leg back, hopefully, and then pause there. Just feel how one side might be a little different than the other now. So we'll take the left leg out, right arm out, nice big long stretch, and then curl in. And and stretch out, and curl in, and stretch out, and curl in, and stretch out. One more time. Oh, that hand comes down, that leg comes forward. Come into the lunge. And again, take your time, kind of feel out what's the right amount of stretch for the front of my hip right there. And once you find it, come up towards the back bendy shape. Or put your arms over your head and do a back bendy shape. Nice deep breaths, yogis. So with the exhale, we're going to fold straight over the front leg. And I'm going to come to the diagonal here. Nice deep breaths. Leaving my hands on the side, I'm going to just shake that leg out a little bit. And come back to the center and see, does it feel a little more even than it did before? Now we're going to do one more little stretch for our shoulders. So taking the knees relatively wide. So you got a nice wide base, put your right arm under your left armpit, and then move forward or backward enough that there's a little bit of pressure on your shoulder, but your head can comfortably rest without a lot of pressure on it. You can take your spare arm over your back, or use it to kind of press yourself into the twist and the stretch a bit more. Move your hips until it feels okay for your low back. If it never feels okay for your low back, you can get out of there. Excuse me. So one more big breath here. And then we're going to come out of there. And then we'll do just a moment in the center. You can do a little child's pose. Notice if there's a difference between the right shoulder and the left. And then we'll take the left shoulder underneath. Again, kind of find the right spot and the right adjustment here. Couple nice deep breaths. And then we'll come on out of there. Oh. Again, we can pause at the center and just see where it landed you. Now we're going to do a downward facing dog. If downward facing dog is not your jam for whatever reason, you can get yourself onto your feet and just pause in a mountain pose, just stand up. So if downward dog works, put your hands about shoulder distance apart. And then once you're up, kind of jiggle the shoulder blades up and down a little bit and try to find the spot where it feels like they sort of merge into your upper back the best. And then hold that steady by squeezing a little bit through your armpits. Just bring them toward each other. And then you can walk your heels up and down. And stretch through the heels, the calves, the hamstrings, even the glutes. And
then when you're ready, you just bring yourself to a forward bend. Now you can hang here, kind of shake out your wrists. Sometimes I just like to dangle. And when you're ready, come up halfway and then all the way to standing. Give yourself a big stretch when you get there. All right, now, my mat does not exactly have a top and a bottom, but I treat this as the top and that is the bottom. So if that reference helps you, then cool. I'll get the whole thing a bit damp. See if I can organize it so it's going in the way the water is leaning. There we go. Okay. So then we're going to stand in mountain pose, point the toes forward. Working around the space that you've got. Take your arms and reach them up over your head. Oh, stretch a bit taller. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come up halfway, lengthen out. Exhale, fold. So we're going to step back into a down dog to start with. And you could hold this, or you can come forward into a plank. You can hold a full plank. You can even take one foot off the ground to make it more challenging, or you can bring your knees down to create a modified plank. Tuck the navel in. Keep strong through your spine. We're going to take one more breath here. And then we're going to lower down, either all the way or halfway, coming into a cobra, or if you like, you can do an upward dog. And then we'll push back up and come back into our downward dog. Now, leaving your right leg solid, take your left leg up, give it a little hook over your back. Spin your foot a few times. Beautiful. And then bring that leg down. Put that one right in the center. Lift your right leg up, hook it over your back. Spin your foot a few times. Then we're going to bring the right leg and step it forward as far as it goes in one step. Wherever it goes, put your weight on that leg. And then spin your left foot around so you're in a warrior two shape. So the hips kind of point to the side. Now keep this front leg strong. If it starts to bow inward, you're either turning your hips too much for your anatomy, or to work your inner thigh a little bit more. So arms are out to the sides. We're going to come back to reverse warrior, and then over to a side angle, and then back to a reverse, and over to a side angle. Oh, give that whole thing right there a nice long stretch. Then we're going to come back to reverse, straighten out your front leg, and then we'll take a triangle pose. Now you could use a block to give you something to push into, or you can hold onto your ankle and float your hand if you like. I like to use a little bit of resistance because it helps me lengthen out my spine. And then your arm can go straight up, or you can take it behind your back and see what happens with a little bit of a bind. So noticing what the relationship between you and your hamstrings and your hips is right now. And then try to get your spine, your hips, and your hamstrings all to agree that this is the shape we're doing today. Taking one more breath. Release everything. We're going to reach this right hand out. Now you could keep the block, or you can put your hand on the floor. We're going to put all of our weight into our right leg, so it might take a couple of little hops. Then you're going to see if you can get your left leg to come up. Bring that left hip up on top. Try not to wreck anything in your house. And balance up here at the tippy top. Try not to knock over any plants. All right, bring that knee in, put it down beside your right foot, come up halfway. Fold over, give it a little rinse. Keep your knees bent if you don't, if you've got tight hamstrings for sure. And then we're gonna come all the way to standing, give it a big stretch. Find our way back up to the tippy top of the mat and find that mountain pose. All right, so then working with your space, arms come up, nice big stretch, maybe a little back bend, fold forward, come up halfway, exhale, fold. We're gonna step back into down dog. And then coming to plank. You could do the opposite leg up, or modify your plank, or do just the middle, middle zone plank. Nice big breath. Lower down. Coming into cobra or your upward dog. And then take yourself back to down dog. Centering the feet. We're going to take that right leg up. Give it a little hook over. Spin the ankle. And then bring that one down. Replace it with the left foot up. Spin the ankle. And then that left leg is going to step forward as far as it goes. Put your weight on it. Spin the right one around. And then come on up. You have to make a little adjustment when you get to the top. Make the adjustment. And then come to your warrior two. Come back to reverse. Ooh. And over to a side angle. Try to hold your legs nice and steady. Coming back and forth. Stretch that out nice and long, and then we're going to take our triangle pose. So stretch out, and then come to your triangle. One side might have a little different rotation or a little different ability to bind. So don't be worried about them being the same. Just try to feel each one to be harmonious for your body. As harmonious as you can make with a yoga pose. I'm going to take in a breath. We're going to release the shape. We're going to put this left arm right out there in front. So again, you can use a block or put your hand on the floor. We're going to shift our weight into the left leg. Pick the right leg up. And then balance as best you can. Now 2 more breaths if I can do it. And then I'm going to take this right leg and bring it in and put it right down beside the other one. Come up halfway. Exhale, fold, and again, bend your knees as much as you need to. And then we're coming all the way up to standing. Give it a good long stretch. And then give everything a little bit of a shake. Find your mountain pose again. And then pause for a moment, just feel. Is the mountain pose right now different than the first one we did? Does your body feel a little bit different? It may not. So we're going to shift the weight over into the right leg. We're going to bring this left leg up so that we're in a tree. Try not to bother my plants too much. Take a big breath, pick up your left foot. Now we're going to step back behind us and rotate that right foot around so that we've got all 10 toes pointing to the long edge of the mat if you have a rectangular mat. And just a sideways, just sideways for me. Then we're going to fold into a wide angle forward bend. Now if you've got tight hamstrings, turn your feet a little more out and bend your knees. If straighter legs works, do that. If you feel a binding in your hip or anything in your knee that feels like a torque, turn your toes out until that goes away. And then you can see, like, how close can I get to the ground with my elbows or my forehead? Or maybe just stay with a little flatter back here. And 2 more breaths. So we're going to come up halfway. Now I find it helpful to have a block because I have really short arms. But if your arms are long enough, you might be able to get your spine pretty much parallel to the floor and still put your hand on the ground. So lifting through the breastbone, we're going to rotate to the right or the left, whichever. Put the other hand down and rotate the opposite direction. And don't worry about whether you get all the way around. Just rotate as much as your torso lets you, because we're all different bone structure-wise. One more on each side. Now, coming into the weight in your legs, come all the way up. Step yourself, I'm going this way, but you guys can go back to your original center if you like. Step yourself into a mountain pose. And then see if there's a difference between the two sides. We're going to shift the weight into the left leg, come into a tree pose. Okay, I'm not going to run into the plant. My peripheral vision said we were in trouble, but we're not. Take a nice big breath, pick this guy up, and again, I'm going to step back, and this time I'm going to pivot the feet, both of them, to point out and come into a wide squat. Now, with the hands on the thighs, your thighs as parallel as you can make them given the circumstances, we're going to rotate right shoulder forward, pull the left shoulder back. You can look up to the left, and then come back to the center. Left shoulder forward, right shoulder back. You can look up to the right. And then come back, we're going to do the same thing one more time on each side. Right shoulder forward, left shoulder tries to tuck in, coming back, left shoulder forward, right shoulder tries to tuck in. Beautiful. All right, straighten out the legs, fold if you like to. We're going to transform this into a downward dog, and then into a child's pose. Pause with your child's pose for a handful of breaths. Now, child's pose is not your jam. You could do a seated forward bend instead, or lay down on your back. You're ready, you can bring yourself to a seated position. Maybe the one we started with, or you started with. And then just pause for a moment and feel. And notice any transformation that's happened, like it just in the general way that your body, your mind, or your heart are experiencing the moment right now. So thank you so much for joining me for a little lunchtime vinyasa. If you need a little shavasana and you don't have to go right back to work, you could do shavasana next on your own if you wanted to. All you gotta do is lay down and stay there a while. But otherwise, we'll sign off together. Nice big breath. Big deep sigh. Namaste, yogis. Welcome to the rest of your day.